it's Chrissy and Amanda.
Two girls from Saskatchewan, Canada, living the Reiki life while working the 9 to 5.
Hey everyone, welcome to the podcast. You're here with Christy and my co-host Amanda. Thanks so much for joining us today. We have an amazing episode to share with everyone, but of course we want to, check in with each other and just see what's all going on. So, hey Amanda.
Hey everyone, welcome back. And yes, what is going on? Okay, so me and Christy are recording this intro and then it's going to be released the next week. So I will be 36 weeks pregnant, 35, somewhere around there. So I'm like pushing the end. Hallelujah. So Reiki's still been going pretty decent. Just like with a bowling ball in the front. I actually wanted to share about a really awesome session that I just had actually. And I asked my clients permission to share this because I just thought it would be really inspiring for other people. So we were doing a session and I've done a few sessions with her before. And she just recently started a new medication for ADHD. And it has had phenomenal effects on her. With her mood and even her energy. And it was funny when I was doing the Reiki session, even when I went to touch her feet to ground her in, we have this chakra below our root. It's called our Earth Star chakra, and that was glowing. So I was like, whoa, not only are you grounded, but your Earth Star chakra is glowing. I was like, you are really grounded into self here right now. I was like, I don't even know if I need to walk you in through a grounding meditation. But like I opened up her chakras to begin our session, of course, but I couldn't believe it. And then just even working through her energy fields, everything felt so good. And I was just amazed. I said, I wouldn't have believed this unless I was actually in your field and working on you right now. I just was blown away. Like everything just felt more open. Her aura was massively pushed out and vibrating so high. Like she just was feeling so good. And I said, wow, this is a really good reminder for people, like Western medicine really does play its role when we need it to. And it's like, I was thinking now that she's feeling like this good, she's being able to attract all these good things too. Because of how high she's vibrating, like even her connection to source and things like that, right? Because when we're vibrating really high, we can reach those, we can get those messages from source. So it just had this really profound ripple effect. And I thought it was just a really good, inspiring thing for me because maybe I wouldn't have thought it would have been like that, to be honest. Like I was actually pretty like, wow, I think I've just gotten proven wrong maybe on a thought or a belief system that I maybe had. And then of course she's going to reassess, and obviously this isn't like a lifetime thing, right? Like she's going to reassess and like be smart and things like that. But yeah, anyways, I just thought it was super neat and I just wanted to share that with other people in case they maybe they need a little bit of a boost just to kind of get the ball rolling to feel better. If you're feeling like that, like it's okay. And honestly, I was really impressed being in her field. I couldn't tell her that enough.
Yeah, that's a really cool story. And she's a return client, so you had something to compare it to as well.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. So yeah, it's neat, when you do get to have those working client relationships where you can see their progress in their journey and see what's going on and you get to know each other. And that's something that I really like when you can build that relationship. But also sometimes I find some appointments are just a one-time appointment with someone, but then sometimes someone's going to take you on a journey and you're going to see them 5, 6, 7 times or a whole year. It just depends. But yeah, that's really cool. I'm glad that she's vibrating higher. Life is good when things are vibrating higher, I would say.
Yeah, especially when you didn't know you could feel that good.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, wow, I just wish I could bottle that up and everybody could just know what that's like, you know? Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, what's going on with you?
Yeah, I've been kind of still in my hibernation mode here. I feel like that bear in the cave's just still, hunkering down and just kind of getting through January, which is feels like the longest month ever. It always is. And still, still studying my homeopathy, still working hard at that on the weekends. So that has been, really good. But like a whole day of study is hard on the mind. Like, I don't know how people do it all day, like, I couldn't do this 5 days a week. I guess it would be different if I didn't work full time and had to do something on the weekend. But man, it's just like my brain is so tired. But, I guess the one thing that I've been focusing on is like really being mindful of a morning routine and doing that self Reiki in the morning and or whenever like it feels right, just like a quick even 30-second little check in, a little cleanse. Like I find myself sweeping a lot away around or a lot of energy around the throat. And then I've been really tuning into the root and the sacral. So it's just kind of cool, it's like a little mini check-in to see where you're at. And it's funny because like girls at work are all about their Apple Watches, their Fitbits. They're all about getting their steps in and checking their sleep and all this stuff. And I was just like, those are cool tools to have. But what's even better is tuning into your own body and seeing how your body feels. When you wake up and your Fitbit says you slept like shit, but I feel good, who am I going to trust? I want to trust myself. So
Absolutely.
yeah, those just like I have one. Troy gave it to me for my birthday a couple years ago, and I remember having it hooked up to my phone. I felt like I had a ball and chain to my phone. People could contact me all the time. It was the worst thing ever. The only thing I like is to actually have a watch to know what time it is. And sometimes it is interesting to see how many steps you have, but just a reminder to tune into your own body, your own intuition, and do that little scan. How am I feeling today? Let's check things out. So that's where I'm at.
When I used to teach spin, it was so funny. So I had one of those Apple Watches too. And I remember like the odd time, right? You'd forget to start your watch. And I remember being like, I would just be panicked. Like, oh my God, it didn't log that I did a workout. And I
Yeah,
remember just like getting consumed by it and being like, it didn't start my watch. It's just like, okay. Like your body knows, but I mean, I get it when people are trying to collect like data and like
right.
statistics of grow something, right? I can totally respect that. It's so funny. I remember like being like super weird and like, yeah, obsessive about that watch too.
Yeah, where it's like, now it doesn't count. I didn't do it on the watch, and meanwhile your body's like, yes, I feel good. And yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know.
don't convince me.
Yeah, it's a good tool for what it should be used for. Like if you're on a journey of like getting steps in, your heart rate, all that, like amazing. But when it comes to the day and day, I was just like, man, I want to throw this thing in the garbage. I just
Yeah.
uh,
Who's running who here?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyways, how about we talk about our upcoming Reiki circle? We
Yes.
did bump it up. We usually like to have it like once a month, but with Amanda's due date coming up the end of February, we wanted to do it sooner rather than later, so we can squeeze in another one in February. So we are going to do the Sunday slot again because that was the biggest turnout we've ever had. It was at 10:30 Central Standard Time, and yeah, it was an amazing circle. Like I can't say enough about that circle. Like I
Yeah.
was buzzing after.
A plus, me too. Great turnout and great stories from people from all over. It was awesome. So highly recommend if you're interested in checking it out. And again, you don't have to be a Reiki practitioner. If you just want to be in the vibe of the people and just kind of hear other people and just receive even a little bit of
Yep.
Reiki when we do our circle, come on down.
Yeah, come as you are. And it was so good how people shared stories. It was vulnerable and people would jump in and help each other. And And then the meditation that you did was amazing. And I just really loved it. So yeah, if you're free that morning, come and join us. It's a great way to start the day or wherever you are in the world. And it inspired us to make a post on Instagram where we created a thread. I don't know if that's the right word you use on Instagram, but whatever. It's a post that we made and it says healers supporting healers. And it's a place where you can tag your favorite healer or yourself, and then we can all start following and talking to each other and creating that community. So it's kind of cool to use Instagram in that way. So yeah, check out our page and check out that post.
Yeah, I love supporting other people too. Like
Yeah.
we're all just trying to do the thing. Like let's just lift each other up. So super, it was such a great idea that you did that post. And I love it. Anytime like if I'm on Instagram and I see your stuff, I'm gonna like it. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna like it, I'm gonna watch it, I'm gonna support. So
Yeah.
love that.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. And before we get into the episode, let's do a quick astrology update. Okay. So we got a full moon February 1st in Leo. So Leo is a fire sign. It is also the strength card in the tarot deck. So for this full moon, yes, full moon, it's all about self-expression, right? Courage, creativity, living with passion and joy and being visible. So that Leo's energy urges you to shine your light. So step into your leadership and that heart-centered action and like kind of think about being in your creative essence. So even if you really wanted to work on your sacral chakra during this time, so that second one just under your navel, it's a really good time to make sure that that feels nice and clear because that's where a lot of that creativity and even that fire for self really come in. So maybe work with this full moon and do some self Reiki and just help release that area out so it feels nice and balanced. That'd be my personal recommendation. And then we have a new moon coming in, and it's with a solar eclipse on February 17th. So that sign is going to be in Aquarius, and Aquarius is an air sign. It's also the star card in the tarot deck. And so Aquarius new moons are really about innovation, community, uh, even making radical changes and individuality within the collective and breaking outdated patterns. So this energy is ideal for reimagining how you connect with groups or causes and starting fresh in ways of thinking or even contributing. And because it's with a solar eclipse, the impact can feel larger than usual. So ushering in endings and new beginnings on a broader scale, especially because Aquarius is that star card. So kind of like that wish fulfillment. And also because it's an air sign too, it's really like be mindful about what you're speaking into reality is what I'm hearing for that. So remember how powerful our thoughts are. Christy and I were just talking about how, if you just say like, oh, I always get sick in January. Well, yeah, then you will. Or if I'm always, whatever, fill in the blank, then that will be true. But if you're always abundant and you're always feeling good, those things can be really powerful too. So really be mindful too when you're in this new moon energy, especially with the solar eclipse. So that would be my advice. So yeah, so two things for February there.
Ooh, solar eclipse. I didn't know about that. Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh,
Nope, me neither. Yeah.
yeah. News to me. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's something
Yes.
to be aware of and mindful of. Yeah. So thanks for that.
Mhm. Yes. Now with Ting Ting.
Yeah. Yeah. It was so fun to sit down with her and, tuning into your own energy and being responsible for moving and clearing and all of that. That just really, ties into this episode so lovely. And she was amazing to chat with. I really enjoyed this interview and I know you guys will too.
Yeah, I don't know if actually your update was intentional, but it really actually ties into our conversation with Ting Ting because she was all about like listening and like just moving your body intuitively and going inward like you were talking about. So yeah, she was so genuine and so amazing. I was following her for a while on Instagram and then we got asked to do this interview and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is such a yes." that
Yeah.
I was so excited about it.
I know. I was a
So really,
huge fan of her too on Instagram. I was like, oh my God, I'm already following her and we get to sit down for an hour and chat with her. It was very surreal to like, have these opportunities. And yeah, I was fangirling a bit there. And yeah, she was just, yeah, a very genuine person that I really enjoyed. So,
yes, absolutely. So enjoy.
hmm.
Hey everyone, welcome back. We have a great episode for you today. I am so excited to interview Ting Ting. I actually found your Instagram probably 2 years ago, and it related to me so much because Christy and I both do Reiki, but I actually move people's energy like Qi Gong. So when I found your Instagram, it took to me right away. So Ting Ting is a visionary in the world of mindful movement and holistic well-being. She is the founder of the GuanJing Method. Ting Ting has beautifully woven together the grace of dance, the energy flow of Qi Gong, and the strength of functional movement, creating a practice she describes as meditative movement that flows like dance, heals like Qigong, and strengthens like Pilates. With over 2 decades of movement and wellness space, Ting Ting has channeled her passion and her deeply held belief in the body's innate wisdom into a gentle, spiraling technique that helps people transform tension and heavy emotions into renewed vitality and inner peace. Her approach isn't just about the physical fitness, it's about cultivating energy so that chi and restoring balance, discovering true abundance in health, relationships, and spiritual well being with the GuanJing Method. And I saw that you were recently in Women's Health magazine, you've been featured on Forbes. You are doing it. I'm so excited we're both so excited to speak with you today. So, welcome in.
Thank you so much for having me. I really look forward to this conversation.
Yeah, yeah, welcome. And I also saw you on Instagram as well. And the way that you moved really captivated me. Like, it's like poetry and it's like spoke to my soul. And it was just like, I don't know, it just did some, like, I don't even have words to describe it. It was a feeling when I watched what you did. And yeah, I was just so excited to, hear about your story. So, where did this all begin?
This story, the beginning of Guanjing came from a really low point in my life. Before I founded this method, I was living in Bali and I was deep into yoga. I was hosting meditation retreats, teacher training, and I was solely dedicated to this path of yoga and meditation. And then when I moved to Los Angeles, I had in my mind that, oh, I can just transfer my whole yoga career and just transplant it into Los Angeles. And that fell very flat on its face. And I had doors closing all around. There was no opportunity. I couldn't even find a job as a waitress. And my bank account was just completely draining. I was in a moment where I really questioned what I was meant on this planet to do. And I became very depressed. There was a lot of frustration, a lot of stress of where my next form of income was coming. And it just led to all this pressure in my body. And I felt really a lot of tension and I felt really lost. I was literally in this like place of pure darkness and like just the void essentially. And I didn't want to move in the ways of yoga anymore. I didn't want to meditate. And I remember sitting down, closing my eyes, and I just allowed those emotions of frustration, of fear, of anger, of low self-worth move me. And so I closed my eyes and I went into this other space and I allowed it to move through me and out of me. And every time I practiced by myself, I remember feeling a lot more trust in the timing of the universe. I felt a lot more trust in myself. And overall I just felt better. And so I decided to continue this practice in the public and, at the beach or at the park in front of the ocean and the trees and just in different settings. And it was interesting. Every single time I practiced, I opened my eyes and I had not just one person, but I had a group of people staring at me going, what is it that you're doing? That is so amazing. Is it Qi Gong? Is it dance? Is this yoga? Like, what is this? And I remember looking up at the sky and being like, I hear you, universe. You're sending me messages and I don't yet know what this is. And so I decided to sort of work backwards and I started to film myself in that space. And I realized, wow, I'm visualizing energy moving this way when I'm doing this specific posture, or I'm visualizing energy moving in this other direction, or this is the emotion that I'm feeling right now. And this is how I'm shifting it. And, it's the age old fact of energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only be transformed. And so what I was actually doing was transforming that fear, that frustration into renewed vitality, into new life, new through the breath, right? And through my body. And so I started to create a few basic forms. And now here we are with 4 years later with teacher trainings happening in Mexico and online and members all around the world and retreats and immersions. And people are really feeling profound benefits from it.
It's amazing when you can just kind of almost sit with yourself and allow the energy to move through you in a way like that. Because that's what I do when I'm doing Reiki. I allow the energy to work through my body and move people's energy in such a way that I wouldn't consciously be able to do. And I love it so much. It excited me so much when that first started happening.
Yeah, the energy is moving through. It's like almost as if, when there's a lot of tension and stress, right? Imagine trying to go to get a massage, but your muscles are really tense. You've been overworking them. And so when things are in a state of tension, you can't receive. And so you have to just relax, right? And that's sort of also how I think about the energetics of abundance and the energetics of manifestation. We have to relax to be receptive to those energies, whatever's moving through, whether that's you practicing Reiki on someone or GuanJing, moving your emotions, or manifesting your dream life, or getting a healing massage. It's all the same. It's the relaxation and trust to be able to allow that shift to happen.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. It's like connecting like the energetic body, the emotional, the mental, and the physical and the spiritual like all together at once. Cause I was just actually learning about that today, how those all need to move in tandem to feel good. Like you can't just be going to the gym and be physically fit and then forget about your other body. So that's what I really love about your method is you're combining all of those into one, and just moving like intuitively is just something that I really enjoy and something that I was drawn to when I started Reiki. If I was going through something, I'd just go in the kitchen, turn some music on and just flow and wouldn't care what anybody was or if anybody saw me, but you felt so much better after that movement. So when you're doing the movements, so you're transforming the energy, like is there certain movements you have like for say anger or for anxiety or like things like that?
I don't have specific movements for specific emotions. You can enhance, right? It's about the intention. So the movements can be all different movements, but it's your intention of what is inside of you. So, say someone just lost a family member, right? Grief is going to be really resonant with them. And so the movements are about opening the heart and softening and breathing space into the lungs and the chest because, that grief has held in the lungs. And that heartache, right, is held deeply in the heart. And I also use and well, it kind of works in harmony with Chinese medicine and the meridian system too, because in Chinese medicine, it's believed that all these different emotions are held in different organs. Anger is in the liver, right? Worry is in the spleen. And so we utilize some of those to direct and maybe extend and bring more energy to those specific meridians. But generally, when someone's practicing Guanjing, It's all about, firstly, the breath. How are you breathing? Breath is our most physical manifestation of our soul. And the way that you breathe is the way that you are carrying yourself through life. And so when you stop your breath, you're literally stopping the energy of life coming in. You know, when someone's having shocked, right? They go, and they stop breathing, or when someone's having an anxiety attack. And especially when someone's having sort of that kind of like breath in the upper chest where they're just in a panic and they're kind of stuck up here, it's because their stress response is being overactive. And so understanding not only the ethereal side of energy, but also the science side of energy of how our nervous system works, utilizing our breath to not only breathe in the lungs, but also send that breath down into the lower body, into our pelvic floor. This is in Chinese medicine, this is known as a lower Dantian. And this is one of the most important elixir centers. That's what Dantian means. It means elixir center, energy center that we can utilize. And so after we establish a smooth, rhythmic, what I call waveform expression of breath, we use that waveform expression of breath to then inflate the body with life and utilizing every part of the body. So what I tell my students a lot is there's no soldier left behind. Your body is a single unit all working together, right? And there's so many of us who have these habits of where we decide to overwork. A lot of times it happens with the scrunching of the shoulders up into the ears, or the lowering of the chest, compression of the chest, or the tension in the pelvis. And a lot of times students don't even notice that they're not properly walking or they're not properly utilizing their muscles. So really understanding breath, breathing into those spaces of tension in the body, and then moving the body from that place with your mental intention, visualizing that stuck energy flowing through and out of you. And then again, then that next breath breathes in that new life. Because one of the most important things that I realize is, especially when I did all this work in meditation and yoga, is, you know, you don't just meditate for 30 minutes or an hour a day and be like, okay, I meditated. Now I can unconsciously go throughout the day and just be in this, sort of like haze. The life is a living meditation. And so that's why Guanjing is so powerful, is because we're moving, we're breathing, we're activating muscles, but we're also intentional. We're noticing where the mind is going, and can we continue to stay present with ourselves throughout not just the practice, but throughout life, whether you're in traffic or in an argument with a partner or at work. It's all about being present in the moment and how you are responding to life.
There's when I teach Usui Reiki, and they talk about that Dantian point, about utilizing that space. And I tell people it's kind of like in your sacral area, it's that lower. Is that how you would describe it too? So we're accessing that energy there. And a lot of the times they want you to like bring your focus to that Dantian and like breathe that energy up into the body. So I love that you touched on that.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to talk about was the breath and the breathing. So I had a Reiki client who was struggling with like her weight. She's always been a very active person. So her being the heaviest she'd ever been was like really, and like she wasn't heavy, but heaviest that she had been was really off-putting to her. And what came through was she needed to do more breathing exercises, and it was almost like to move that energy and that chi throughout her body. And it was funny because she was doing all the different like crushing the sweating and the exercise, like never missing. But I said, you need to actually work on a breathing program and to get your breathing in check. And I was like, I feel like I should take away some of this is really good, almost advice even for anyone to hear. But it's funny how that breath really moves that chi in your body.
Mhm. It's the circulation and elimination of toxins. That's why the lower dantian is actually also very important. If you think about it from the Chinese medicine perspective, they have three dantians: the lower, the middle, and the upper. And if you think about that in terms of like a cauldron brewing up something really magical, brewing up a soup or a stew, right? The lower dantian is the fire. Then we have the middle dantian which is the pot, the cauldron that holds it. And then we have the upper Dantian, which is our lungs, which is the steam. And so you need to have a functional fire, right? To be able to brew, like say food, if you want to have that analogy. And then you also want to have the lungs being really healthy so that that steam, that pressure can be released. And then if you look at this in terms of the yogic philosophy, right? The sacrum, the base of the sacrum is Muladhara. This is the center of all that we are. This is like the center, the I am, right? That I am here, I exist, I need food. It's the survival. And if you think about this in more modern medicine and science, this is the pelvic floor. This is where we dispose and eliminate of waste, but not only physical waste, but emotional waste, mental waste, all of that it's that energy of down and out. And so being able to control that energy of down and out without becoming, have you ever heard the term like, oh, they're so anal retentive, right? It's because they have a difficult time with the elimination of waste and they hold on to old ideas or old belief systems. And so having that continuous feeling of movement, because we're always transforming, we're always shifting, right? It's a never ending cycle. We're born into this life as little babies, and then by the end of it, we're a completely different being, essentially. We lived probably multiple lives, had multiple thought systems, right? Had multiple styles of hair and dress and all of that. And so it's really important to continue to be present with where you are now and having an understanding how to let go, understanding where you feel stuck, why, and it shows up. The first sign, it always shows up in the body, whether that's an ache or a chronic disease or, something that's kind of low level. And it's always going to signal. The body's always like, hey, something's wrong. You need to fix this. And modern medicine, what do? They put a Band-Aid over it and just like, oh, here's some medication, but never getting to the root cause. And oftentimes all of these crazy chronic conditions can literally be saved through something free, which is movement and breath.
Yes, that's so true. I think back to, dark nights of the soul in my journey, and the best thing that I could do was move my body. But the thing was, like, when you're in that depressed state, it's so hard to even get up to move your body. So do you have any advice, like if somebody is in that state, like how do you get to that point to actually move?
Yeah, I think that, a good like analogy for that is, people want to go to the gym and get fit, but it's really hard for them to actually like put on the clothes and put on the sneakers and drive. But then once they're there, it's kind of easy, right? They're like, oh, I'm here. Might as well get a workout in. And so if someone's really feeling a hard time with being in that tough space and just starting to move their body, I would just tell them to close their eyes and bring awareness to one part of their body that they might feel has an overwhelming amount of tension. Maybe it's the shoulders, maybe it's the pelvis, and then just begin moving that one part of the body. And it doesn't even have to be crazy movements. It could just be like gentle head circles and then using your breath to breathe into that tension. And then what the body's going to do is the body's very intelligent and it's going to say, oh, I want more. So you're going to increase those circles. You're going to linger over to one side and let your neck, left side or right side of your neck really stretch out and breathe in that space. You're going to want to then begin to extend your arm. And it's this organic unfolding, unfurling of your body, right? It's like no one ever wants to like take the prick out of the splinter out of their hand because it's like, oh, it might hurt, but then you just got to let it go.
Yeah. Oh, that's great advice. Yeah, start small. Just start that movement going. That's so true. And once you start, yeah, you feel so much better on that other side. You're like, damn, why don't I do this every day?
Exactly.
And starting with neck rolls, you can start those on the couch. And then hopefully, right, that movement will get you just like lifted off the couch and then the whole body will get involved. Yes. So Ting Ting, you have obviously a very extensive background in yoga. So how did you get into the Qi Gong side? Is this something that kind of just got channeled in the movement, or did you take things like deeper on your own? Like how did that kind of all come together?
It's interesting when I started doing these movements, a lot of people reflected, oh my gosh, you're moving energy. Like this is it Qigong? I hadn't even taken a Qigong class ever. I did not know anything about Chinese medicine or Qigong techniques. And I actually went and studied at the top of Wudang Mountains at a school and studied classical Qigong and Tai Chi because I actually was very curious. I was like, wow, am I like an imposter? Like maybe I'm just randomly taking things subconsciously from stuff that I didn't even know I've seen. And it was so good that I went there. Really, it was really, really beneficial for me to go there because now I realize how much different Guanjing is from Tai Chi and Qigong. Tai Chi and Qigong are from martial arts. Their roots are martial arts from an external defense system, a blocking system. And all the movements, the pelvis is curled really tucked under. The stances are really masculine, really low, deep squats. The hand gestures, even though they are circular, it's also very masculine. It's very kind of defensive. It's when you're forming the ball, it's got this, you have kind of like this sort of power stance the whole time. And same thing with Tai Chi. The Tai Chi it has that swiftness, it has those spirals, but it also is very like low to the ground. The pelvis is tucked under the whole time. And honestly, the whole time I was doing it, I was very uncomfortable. And I had to get used to it, and I realized that Guanjing, it allows us to be vulnerable. It allows us to lift our heart and breathe into our chest and open our neck. It allows us to gyrate the pelvis and round our back, and it allows us to soften. It's a very feminine version of something, say, classical Qigong or Tai Chi. And there's a lot more ability to play with it and flow with it. If you go to China like I did and you're studying these forms, it's like, this way is the only right way. You must do it like exactly like this, And for me, I say, try your own rhythm. Maybe you go a little faster, maybe you go a little slower. Maybe you can link these two different basic forms in different ways and have your own kind of different experience and dance with it. So there's more room for play and creativity in my method. And I believe that our body naturally does certain things in a certain way to help unravel. But I also believe that the body holds patterns to keep us stuck in the same loop. So it's important. I teach a lot about alignment my main focus is to keep your spine safe, to open up your pelvis, and to keep your breath full. So anytime any of those three things are being compromised, you're not doing the posture correctly. And so that's my only framework for if someone is doing a posture correctly or incorrectly. And then on top of other like smaller things, like make sure you enliven your hands, make sure like you soften your face, make sure you're really utilizing your muscles and you're feeling that energy coming from the bottoms of the feet and rising up. So those other little things I can nitpick at, but overall it's like it's your freedom to play with and explore with how energy moves through your body.
Yeah. I love that because it's just like out of all the modalities I've dabbled in, like I've tried that Kundalini yoga. I was really drawn to it, but it's very rigid and like almost like masculine. And I remember I was really pissed off at the world when I started practicing. I felt like I was moving the energy like too fast or didn't know where to go and I wasn't releasing it. So I just find like your method, like it's intuitive based too, and you can just go with the flow. And I just really love that. And, many of our listeners are energy healers and they're intuitive. So how can working with movement like this help them clear like energetic stagnation or amplify their natural like channeling abilities?
Well, that's a great question, actually, because we have these different layers of the structure of our energy field, right? We have kind of the etheric, and we have the all the different layers of where's our aura, where does that end, and there's those past lives, and they go out up really high, right? And then we have the chakra system, but then we also have our body. And we also have our brain and we also have our heart. And that also is sending out signals and messages. And it's really important to integrate all these different realms in one. I'm not saying that people have to be thinking about their past lives and their future self all at once, right? But it's more about utilizing what you have now to be the most capable, most powerful, most lovable person you can be. And we can't deny that we are in this vessel of the body. I mean, I know some of the most powerful energy healers and psychics I know are always in something's chronically wrong with their body because they're not taking care of their body, right? And so you have to say, okay, well, this is the vessel, this is a container. Do I want to maintain it? Or do I just kind of want to let it go and ignore it, even though I'm actually in the 3D world? And so when you have a strong body, you have a strong barrier, you have a strong boundaries. If your lungs are strong, you're going to be way less likely to get sick or to catch anything on an airplane. When you have really good digestion, right? You can eat something that maybe has gone bad and you won't get really sick from it. If you practice and train your legs and move your arms, you're going to live a really long, healthy life and you become more youthful because you're bringing more fresh energy to your vessel. And it also helps clear any kind of lingering stuff that you have if, say, you're working with a client and they have a lot of crazy stuff going on in their energy field. If you're moving your body and deeply breathing and utilizing this practice, you're also cleansing and clearing yourself from all that kind of like dust. And I know you can say a phrase and have like an etheric energetic thing, but also have a physical thing. You can't ignore it.
Mhm. Yeah, I really like too how you talked about how those practices were very masculine too, and bringing in that almost like feminine essence, because I think a lot of it, especially when you think about when those practices were first like really brought forth, like it was a lot of masculine energy and men creating and teaching these practices, just like Reiki, teaching the energy work is very masculine and very rigid. And so I think it's so important that you're listening to your body and allowing things to move through you the way they should, especially now with the earth is moving into this higher vibration and the energy and stuff is getting stronger. So we have to kind of shift with it and bringing in that fluid movement. And yeah, I feel like Christy too, like we bring a lot of that fluid feminine essence back into the practice, which is probably where it actually originally originated from, right? And then it kind of got switched up there. And now we're like bringing it back home.
Yeah, absolutely. If you think about, it's funny, like if you think about any feminine sort of movement, belly dancing, hula, and then you think about the masculine movement, strength training and yoga and that kind of masculine Qi Gong, it's like those things are the mainstream things, right? Those things everyone's doing. The Pilates is really masculine, calisthenics, every sort of movement, running and swimming, it's all very masculine. It's like all about timing and building more strength or, doing something really structured, having all these rules that sort of keep you in that box. Whereas that more feminine movement, say hulaing or belly dancing, it's not as popular. You don't see it. You don't see belly dancing studios all over the place, right? But you do see yoga studios and, core flow studios and all that kind of stuff. And I think people in this modern society, especially in sort of the governing systems that we're in, have forgotten about the magic of being feminine. And I don't mean feminine as a woman, I mean feminine as in being soft, being intuitive, deeply feeling your emotions, being in touch with that, and being in a space of receptivity and being in a space of like play, right? We've kind of lost that in our modern society as adults. I mean, you can even see that in the buildings and the structures. I love going to Vienna a lot in the summertime. And I love going there because all of the structures, there's always these angels and gold, and it's all so beautiful. And, even though there are these large towering buildings, there's the sort of the accessories are all just like really beautiful. And then you come to the US and the lamp posts and the buildings and the condos are all just boxes. And it's sort of I feel like it numbs us and it stops us from thinking creatively because everything is so plain and a little bit boring that then we're just like, oh, I'm just gonna go to this strip mall and go to this like chain store and then I'll go to this other chain thing and go to, and then why do I feel so dissatisfied? Why do I feel depressed? It's because that creativity has been stunted. So being more creative and playful, even through movement, right? It keeps us young.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
This might be really kind of, well, a little off topic. Did you ever watch the Home Alone movies as a kid?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So they recently they modernized the Home Alone house into this like new age home. Oh my God. It was like you said, they took away the soul out of that house. It's like a museum now, and it's like so cold, and all that love feels like it was ripped out of that family home. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's just like you going to like Vienna and like that rich history and that like yeah, that energy. And then I know you go to the box, and I think about that too. It's okay to keep some of that essence back into things. Yeah.
Yeah. I think a lot of places have become soulless. You go to there's those certain cities and towns where you're just like, is everyone doing drugs? It's like, well, because everything's a strip mall and there's no mom and pop shops. There's no place for like a garden. There's no original thought. It's all just been so manufactured. And when you think about that, that's why people just don't stop moving, right? Because like that energy, there's no vibrancy, there's no life. And I think it is so important for us to continue to have this sort of childlike wonder and desire to explore and to try new things, especially with our bodies, right? I think a lot of times, people say, "Oh, I injured myself, so I stopped doing this." And it's like, well, of course, there's definitely a recovery period, but your fear is preventing you from doing it, not actually can't physically do it anymore, right? So, I've met so many people who said, especially students who said, I stopped moving because of this injury, or I stopped moving because of that thing happened, or I got an operation. And we need to break up that scar tissue. That scar tissue needs to continue to have that energy and the liquid to hydrate and make it more mobile, or else it becomes hard and stiff. And then eventually the whole body does.
Yes. Yeah, and like the fascial system is having a big moment too right now where they're really science is catching up to what it actually is, which is really fascinating. But yeah, what I wanted to ask you was about like the nervous system. So when we think of like society at large and, being in the masculine energy, go, 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 9 to 5, this, and just living an unconscious life. And so many of us, our nervous systems are just fried. So with your method, is it good? Can it help like soothe that nervous system and get it back into balance? And
Yes, absolutely. And, that's again why I start with our breath. We have to regulate. The only way to be able to regulate our nervous system is through being aware of what's happening in our body. If we're unaware, we're going to continue to be stressed, right? So the best way to become aware of ourselves and where we're at is through our breath and through closing our eyes and going internal. We have to go into an internal space first to sort of see what's going on. What am I working with? Okay, clearly, clearly I'm stressed. Okay, well, let's slow that down. Let's soothe that a little bit by breathing into the lower belly a few times and then slowing everything down. The more slow we go, the less stressed we become. Stress and comes and is heightened by everything being fast. And especially now it's like Instacart and Instagram and like Wi-Fi and all these things. Being able to slow down, like even brushing your teeth a little slower, walking a little slower, cleaning a little, eating slower, that's going to calm the nervous system. And so through my movements, we practice breathing slowly and mindfully and finding that dance and discovering that your body through movement in a slow pace. And then we get into the flow of it. So then after the students become comfortable, then we can move a little faster, a little more swiftly, always following the breath. And these movements are designed to allow ourselves to recalibrate. It's all about the recalibration of not only our body, but our sensory system. How am I seeing things? How am I hearing things? Right? What am I thinking about? Recalibrating it so that it isn't always stuck in that same stress response.
Right. Yes.
Do you, can I ask you what, do you find the hands play a big part when you're moving that energy? Like, I know it's a whole body, but like your hands specifically? I've
Oh
just
yeah,
noticed in a lot of your videos. Yeah.
yeah, our I believe that our hands are an extension of our hearts. And also the hands are the beginnings of where a lot of important meridian points are. And so when we begin to extend and spread our hands wide and articulate the hands, we're stimulating all these different meridians, but we're also, right, in Reiki, the palms are very powerful. And in a lot of my practices at the end during the Qi cultivation exercises, I tell students to imagine that the energy from their heart is moving out of the bloodstream of their arms, down the hands, out of the palms, and to play with that kind of energy because it really is part of the auric field of the body. So expanding that through our hands as we're pulsing it close and farther away, and then expanding it wider and wider and wider. And that's what we do at the very end to really expand our auric field and cleanse it. But then during the actual movement, right, we're learning how to articulate our hands and utilizing them with intention and stimulating those meridians.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. Especially, yeah, with the meridians. When you look at it like one of those maps and you can see all the meridians running through, it just kind of makes sense where that energy will flow. And yeah, that's really, really cool. So I listened to you on another podcast and you shared this story about how you went viral on Instagram. And I really love that story. So do you mind sharing that with our listeners?
Oh yeah, that's a really great manifestation story actually. So finally, I started to film my first course of GuanJing. I definitely was not in a place to be making money from it yet. I hadn't made a single dime from it yet. And at that point, I finally found a job as a waitress. And I was making pretty good money. It's Los Angeles, and was having fun at this job. It was an all women owned job. It was right down in the center of Venice. It was really like kind of like the hip area, and I was quite enjoying it. But I was really relying on it solely for paying the bills and making my way. And I was making enough to save money. And so at this point, I saved enough to decide to go on a little vacation. And then it happened that it wasn't just Mexico. It ended up being okay, I'm going to go to Costa Rica as well. And it's going to lead to this other thing. And I told the restaurant and they go, well, we can't keep you because we need you. Like we have to hire someone else. So I was at a moment there where I was like, okay, I'm about to quit a job that I know just can pay the bills. And I'm living I'm not living a wealthy life, but I'm living a pretty good life after being so scared in scarcity mode. And so I decided to quit and I thought, okay, I have this like whole financial plan. I can't spend more than X amount per month while I'm in Mexico and Costa Rica. And I land in Mexico. I go to Tulum for the very first time. And Tulum's very fashionable. It's very posh. There's, it's kind of like the it place to be in Mexico, and everything's overpriced. And so I go into the store, my friend's trying on clothes and I'm trying on clothes and some jewelry. And I'm trying on about like $3,000 worth of things, clothing between clothing and jewelry. And I'm like, I can't afford this. This is crazy. I just need to take all this stuff off right now. What am I doing? And she looks at me, she goes, how do you feel when you're wearing this? And I said, I feel amazing. And she goes, well, then just get it. And so I decided to take her advice and I said, okay, I'll just get it. And afterwards, I was kicking myself. I go, oh my God, what are you doing? You're being so irrational. Like, you need to return this. You can't afford this. What are you going to do? You had this whole plan. You just threw out the window. Now, what are you going to do with, $3,000 that you had saved up for the month in Costa Rica. And so I decided, okay, you know what? I already bought it. It feels too embarrassing to go back and return it. So I go to Costa Rica and I have all these new clothes and jewelry. And my friend, we're by some waterfalls and she goes, oh, let me take a video of you dancing and practicing GuanJing in front of these waterfalls. I don't think anything of it. We record this video. And at that point, I finally finished my course and I was ready to launch it. And at that point, my Instagram, I had maybe like 1,000 followers that are just friends and, very small. And I did the same thing I would all normally do, just posted a video and said, hey, learn how to dance with Qi energy with me. And here's my course of Guanjing. And I thought nothing of it. I thought, oh, I'm just going to get some likes from my friends. And it was also my birthday that coming week. And so I went to bed, I woke up, and when I woke up to messages from people all over the world saying, oh my God, you're the reincarnation of Kuan Yin, and all these different remarks and all messages and comments. And in my post went viral. And then I look at my sales for my course and it was like, this person bought the course, this person bought the course. And I had made like $30,000 overnight. And I was like, what? I was like, wait, do people know that this formula exists? Like you can do this? Like what? This is crazy. And I was just completely shocked that it just went like instantaneous, like boom, here it is. And ironically, I was worried about spending all this money on the clothing and the jewelry. And ironically, those same companies saw my video and they're like, oh my God, we love you. We'll send you a bunch more clothing and jewelry. We just want you to be filmed in it. And so I got like tenfold back. But it was just just a beautiful reminder to trust your magnificence, however that is, if you're a photographer, buy the nice camera, buy the lens that you want. If you're a cook, buy that amazing oven, buy the mixer, buy the supplies that you really feel will enhance the essence of who you are. And for me in that moment, it was like not always, and because before then I always picked the thing that was affordable and never the thing that I truly, truly wanted. And it was the first time that I was like, no, I really want these things. And I decided to go for it. So it was kind of like you have to step first and then that rock will land for you to land to take that next step.
Oh, that is such a good story. Oh, it's so inspiring. It's like, you're in alignment when things just miraculously just boom, boom overnight. Isn't that amazing? Oh, I love it.
Yeah. And it was just so funny because I wasn't expecting it at all, right? I was just kind of like, oh, maybe like someone will see it. And then from there, that's when Guanjing really took off because the Instagram just went, whoa. And then, it was something about the energy that people really loved. And in that moment, it was me with all the aspects, like this feeling of prosperity and the abundantness through the clothing and jewelry, but also the energy of the land and the waterfalls and the elements all the five elements were present and the movement of Guanjing. And it was a moment that really reminded me that life was magical.
Yeah, I bet. When I heard that story, I was just like, I love that so much because it just like expands me into thinking like what is possible. And, I also wanted to ask you, what does Guanjing, what does it mean?
So Guan is my last name, and there's many different interpretations of Guan, but one of it means mountain pass, and Jing means the essence or spirit of. So moving through life with the graciousness of the wind and the water flowing through life's most challenging mountains. And that's sort of what I feel when I'm practicing Guanjing and what I hope others feel when they're practicing it.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
And actually, I would like to share another story really quickly. Speaking of magic and
Please.
what Guanjing means. So at this point, it was year 2 of Guanjing, and I was hosting a retreat in Mexico, and I ended up landing this amazing villa in the middle of the Sankan Biosphere Reserve, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So, you fly into Mexico, and it's like you got to take up the van to a boat to finally get to the strip. And all around, there's nobody on either side. And then on one side is the ocean. On the other side is the bay, where it's like kind of like a mix of fresh and salt water. There's not a plane in sight. You could just run around naked. And so we were practicing GuanJing in the morning at sunrise and at sunset. And the sunset was at the bay. And so on the third day, we were all practicing and we had just finished a meditation of Qi cultivation of sending the energy of our hearts out through our hands and into all the suffering in the world and creating this web of love holding everyone's hearts. And it was a very sort of emotional meditation, and some people were crying coming out of it, and we were all sitting there in silence. And all of a sudden, over the horizon line, I see these two kind of like long, very long shapes that were white. And one was slanted and one was kind of straight. And I'm looking at this and I was like, what is that? Like, that doesn't look like a jet stream. And I can't, I just, it's a strange shape to be going vertically along the horizon line. But then along the horizon line, it started to move to the right of the horizon line, like along the water. And I'm looking, I'm like, whoa, this is these two shapes are very strange. And I'm looking at my students and their eyes are getting big. They're like, what the heck is that? And then these two shapes start coming at us. And I'm realizing they're very long spheres. And I'm realizing, oh my God, these are alien spaceships. They come so close to us that I've never seen. I've always seen little spaceships up in the sky, like little white. They look like stars, right? And they move in crazy shapes, and then they disappear. And that's the closest I've ever seen to like an alien ship. But these ships were so big, and then they started moving in a figure. They started moving like this, like a figure eight, like this. And that was a movement of radiant Jing that I was teaching the students that they were all doing. And then the spaceship started going like this. And then they just disappeared. So big. And all of my students were freaking out, but so filled with joy. None of them were scared. The energy of those ships it was filled with love. It was like, wow, look how powerful you can all be if you combine your energies with the same intention. Like, that's what the message I got. They were just so proud of us. And in a blink of an eye, they were gone. And I'm so glad I had 15 other students next to me, or else I would have been like, did I make that up? Did I just hallucinate that? But it's still very much talked about amongst the group of our students. And they're like, do you remember that year we went to Mexico and we saw those alien spaceships? That was so cool. But it really shows you the power of how far your energy can go and how much you can communicate to even other worldly beings.
Yeah, absolutely you can. And like energy, people can feel that more than they can understand a language even, right? So that's unreal. That's so neat.
Yeah, I hope it happens again. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
I wanted to touch on one thing. You know, when you were talking earlier about like just moving the body and everything, and just, you know, when people are unmotivated and just getting off the couch, you know, so I'm pregnant right now. I'm almost done 5 months. So there's been this whole like rediscovering my body, because my body can't move when I exercise the same way that it did before I was pregnant, which, you know, was kind of frustrating at the beginning, right? So things that I know that I can do all of a sudden feel different, or even like a lunge feels funny now because I have this, you know, bump in the front. And it's almost like we need to relearn our bodies and get in touch with our new bodies. And then I was thinking, well, you know, we're aging and we're changing all the time. And we almost need to reconfigure and get in touch with ourselves more often than I think just having milestones like a pregnancy or maybe menopause is like, we almost need to be getting in touch with ourselves like all the time and sitting with our movement and seeing, okay, my body used to like this, but it doesn't even like this now. And I was thinking about how important that is for people to really get with that.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those things where if someone doesn't do that and reestablish that connection, it's like any relationship, right? you don't tend to it, it kind of dies. So when someone hasn't moved their body in a really long time, it's not even that they don't want, they're afraid. They're afraid to discover, right? It's almost as if you're afraid to sort of look in the mirror to notice how much has changed because you haven't been checking in on that bi-weekly or however many times basis. And I think that it's really important for people who haven't moved in years to not be afraid. It's never too late to reestablish that connection, right? And it can be something super simple, like I said, closing your eyes and connecting to your breath, noticing where you feel tension in the body. That doesn't require you to do anything extravagant physically, but what it allows you to do is it opens up that doorway for you to experiment and experience more, right? Because you just need to open it, and then it gets more and more and more open until it fully invites you to dive deeper into whatever transformations and changes and shifts have happened in your body, and being kind to yourself about it. I think that the world of Instagram and, movies and TV, it prevents people from realizing that people are humans and that we all have scars and wrinkles and belly fat, and we are not, none of us are perfect. And to not look at that AI world, right? Not to look at all those filters, but really just love ourselves and love ourselves enough to open that door slightly and be like, let's just check in on my breath. How am I breathing? What's my stress level at today? What is really on my heart right now? Right? Instead of just like looking away from it and looking at a phone or something else.
Yeah, that's so important to like tune into your body because that's like a big thing with learning Reiki. Like Reiki level 1 is all about your energy and learning that. Like so you can create that strong container so you can hold space for other people. But oh shoot, I lost my train of thought here. Again, okay, one thing I have to say though, back to your alien story, I just wanted to say that when I was typing out some of these questions tonight, I was going back and spell checking and there was the word alien in my questions. And I was like, what? I didn't write alien. So I remember backspacing it. So that all makes sense how that all lined up. I just wanted to share that. It's so weird.
The universe is always conspiring.
Yeah, it really is. Hey, connecting all those dots. But yeah. Shoot, it's gone. Yeah, man, did you have anything else that you want to?
So funny though. Obviously, that story wanted to be shared in some capacity, right? To
Yeah.
bring light to that. So that is really funny. No, I had just kind of one thing I wanted to end on, unless you have any more questions, Christy.
No, I'm good. Yeah. So we're coming to the
Um,
area.
I wanted to just like if you had like three things that people could take away or like that they should start doing, maybe that would be really helpful to them, like to like really what am I trying to say? To really help with like moving their energy or just like feeling better. What would you suggest, like three like key things like that people should be doing?
Well, one, definitely establishing connection with your breath, finding that smooth pacing, slowing down your breath so that it regulates your nervous system. Two, scanning your body. Where in the body do you need that extra little love? Where in the body do you feel tender or tense? Or maybe there's a little pain. And then three, gently moving that part of the body in a mindful, loving way, to just release some of that held tension or that stagnant energy. It doesn't have to be like a hour long class or a 30 minute. It could just literally, all it takes is 5 minutes, right? I mean, you could be doing something in the car. You can be doing neck rolls in the car. You can be stretching your arms and rolling your shoulders out at a desk. You could be deciding to stand up from the desk and doing a couple of stretches with your legs. And I always find, as an adult, everyone is like always standing and being so proper. And I'm like, I'm just a wild child. I'm out in the standing in line at the grocery store, spinning around and twirling and bouncing on my leg and just acting goofy. And I'm the one playing with the little kids at the airport on the floor, and I think that I think there's almost a fear of being judged. I think that's a huge thing. You don't want to be judged for being weird or not good enough, or, that you don't know what you're doing, but no one knows what they're doing, right? So you can't be doing something wrong if no one knows what you're doing. So just do it and let go of that judgment, let go, because you're going to be so much happier, and your body's going to be happier, and your heart's going to be happier, and your mind's going to be more calm, and you'll gain more confidence. And so that's what Guanjing really teaches us to do, is to like that judgment, that small talk about yourself. It's not there. It's the intention is on the energy, how you feel, breathing in that love, breathing in that renewed vitality. And that's the most important thing.
And you have a beginner class that people can check out on your website as well, right? So if they're like unsure, they want to get a feel for it, let's talk about your offerings and things like that.
Oh, yeah. So if people are interested, I have a free intro class, which is an hour long, which describes a breath in detail. So you can go from very, very step by step. Okay, this is how we're going to breathe. Then it goes into a flow where you learn a few movements. And then I also have a YouTube channel where a lot of people have been finding me on YouTube. And then I have an online membership. So if people really enjoy the free class, they can join the online membership, which is a subscription-based platform. And on there, I always have new courses coming out. I have kind of goodies and discounts on other stuff if you become a member. The GuanJing Method book, which is a hand illustrated book that by me, is also a part of the membership that you get delivered. And then there's some in-person stuff. So if you're not really an online person, I have a couple of online in-person trainings in Mexico in January, and then Bali in February coming up. And then retreats. So I host retreats. I'm about to actually leave for Egypt tomorrow. And then I also go to Mongolia, I go to Greece, I go to the UK a lot. And those are more sort of a spiritual pilgrimage with Guanjing. But then Mexico and the Bali retreat are more specific to the intensive training aspect of it.
Amazing. Thank you. Yeah, I will include all that at your website and your Instagram and our show notes so people can find you easily. And yeah, I want to go check out that beginner course and learn about the breath, because yeah, such a shallow breather. I need to come back to that. So thank you.
This whole episode, I was like thinking of being mindful about my breath after we talked about it. I'm sure all the listeners are like, finally breathing again. Yeah. Yes, thank you. And thanks for taking time. You're leaving on a flight tomorrow. Thanks for meeting with us tonight.
Oh, of course. My pleasure. My pleasure. I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. I learned so much. And yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you so much
I'm
for
going to start
having
my
me.
morning like that.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Well, take care.
All right. So Amanda's doing the honors this week. She is ready to go with the card pull. So yeah, let's see what's going on.
Okay. So I pulled a oracle card with the Doreen Virtues. What is this? Angel Therapy deck? Yes. And the card I got was Ascended Masters. So it's powerful, loving, and wise spiritual teachers are watching over and guiding you, is what it says. And so I pulled some tarot as well. And for that, I'm using the Light Seers tarot deck. I believe it's kind of like that new age modern one. Check us out on Instagram if you want to see what the cards look like. And I got the Eight of Pentacles, the Emperor in reverse, the Fool in reverse, Five of Swords in reverse, and then the Five of Pentacles. So when I put this all together, now is a really good time, or you are being guided to really take on a new endeavor. So whether you're wanting to kind of like take the class, maybe you're wanting to really devote yourself to a new practice. We were talking in the Reiki circle how people are kind of taking on, additional modalities. Even Christy going back to school and studying like her herbalism. Now is a really good time, and you are being fully supported in wanting to do that. So if you have the desire to want to take on a course, or you're interested in something is piquing your interest, green light, go. Like give it a whirl and give it a try. I'm seeing that people who are willing to kind of step out of their comfort zone and get out of their own head are going to be really successful. So it's so interesting to us to get stuck in those kind of comfortable routines. And well, this is what I know. And then what if I don't do well at this? And sometimes we just need to really pull on our masculine side and just take the leap and just give things a try. And you might really surprise yourself. And it's not that there's not going to be a learning curve. So don't be down on yourself if things aren't like 100% right away. Just be patient and know that, no one can always sit at the piano and play, this beautiful symphony right away. Sometimes it just takes a little bit of practice and then you can get really good. So don't be afraid to like do those things this year. You're going to be fully supported with this year of the one, year of the horse. Like just start chopping forward here.
Oh, I love that. That really resonates with me. Totally.
Oh, good.
Yes. All about,
I
yeah.
actually thought of you.
Yeah, thank you for that. A little card reading for me. No, I'm sure that relates to a lot of people right now, just with those creative endeavors and spring coming around the corner. And yeah, it's just, and get out of the head. Like, man, sometimes I'm my worst enemy. Like, damn.
I know, me too. I'm like, what if I pay for something and then it doesn't work? Well, you wouldn't have that desire to do it.
Yeah.
I tell my students, even when they want to take Reiki, I said, I don't build houses. Like, not an interior designer. I just don't have the desire to do it. So I wouldn't be good at it.
Yeah.
If you don't, yeah. So it's like that. So, anyways, yeah. I don't know what I was going to say. I'm going to cut that out. Dead.
You're done. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So you can find us at Living the Reiki Life on Instagram. And I have my personal page, The Birch Soul. You can find me there.
Yes. And I am Reiki with Manda. So just a quick reminder, I will be having my baby at the very end of February. So I will be holding things off probably for sure for the month of March. So get at me before that if you want a session or to learn anything. I'll definitely slot you in. But yeah, be mindful. March is probably going to be off limits for me while I get into my new adjustment.
Yes. Yeah. Get to meet the new baby. I can't wait. I'm so excited. I was telling Troy tonight about that and he's like, oh, that's coming up. I was like, yes. So exciting.
I know. Wild.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay. Thanks, everybody. Have yourself a really good rest of your day. Good week.
Yeah. And we'll see you guys later.
1, 2,